Hello friends, welcome to Technique. This is Nirmal here and you're watching the detailed camera review of the new budget smartphone from Xiaomi in India, the Redmi Note 8 with quad rear cameras. The Note 8 was announced in India for a price starting 9,999 and comes with quad rear cameras and a 13 megapixel selfie camera. So let's find out how the camera performs in this price segment. In terms of the camera hardware, it sports a quad rear camera with 48 megapixel primary camera with Samsung's GM1 sensor and f1.8 aperture. There is a secondary 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and a third 2 megapixel macro lens and a fourth 2 megapixel depth sensor. There is also LED flash included. The front camera is a 13 megapixel with f2.0 aperture. And now let's find out how the camera performs in this price segment. First step, the daylight captures. From the daylight shots you can see that the 48 megapixel camera offers good clarity for the price segment it is being offered. By default, it takes pictures in 12 megapixel and there is adequate details on offer. The sharpness levels are quite good even though at times you can see some noise creeping in. The color quality is again decent, but at times you can see the exposure is imperfect and you end up slightly underexposed images. This time Xiaomi has made sure that there isn't any saturation issues, and for the most part Redmi Note 8 does pretty well in color reproduction. The phone also comes with auto HDR mode which works quite well, and the dynamic range is also pretty good. You can also take pictures in 48 megapixel mode, but the size is almost 3 times the regular one. But we would recommend it to take in 12 megapixel mode, which does a decent job altogether. Now the phone also comes with an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and the performance is decent. While it can't retain the sharpness and details of the 48 megapixel shooter for obvious reasons, it is still a decent performer and usable images. At times the wide angle photos were slightly blurry, especially when the light goes down. Looking at the close-up shots, you can see that the phone does a pretty good job in bringing the details, and colors are also good with good details and sharpness levels. The phone also comes with 2 megapixel macro lens which can shoot images as close as 2 cm, which is segment first. The macro shots have come good and good colors and sharpness levels. Macros are definitely a handy feature to have in the sub 10K price segment. Now the portrait shots. The portraits have been a strength of Xiaomi for quite some time, and here again you can take some good portraits. The colors are good and they are taken with the primary camera. The edge detection is mostly accurate. While the Redmi Note 8 Pro offers changing aperture value of the bokeh after you have taken pictures, this is something which is missing on the Redmi Note 8. Now moving on to the low light images. The phone has f1.8 aperture and it produces decent results in low light and indoor lighting conditions. In extreme low light, you can see noise creeping in, but you can shift to the night mode in such cases, which does better. The night mode images are sharp and it reduces the noise levels. Overall, we feel it does a decent job in the low light photography for the price segment. So this is the video recordings taken using the Redmi Note 8. This is a 4K Ultra HD camera sample, and this can record 4K in 30 FPS, so you can judge yourself how good the clarity of the video is, and also the audio output from the 4K sample on the Redmi Note 8. So this is the 1080p sample taken with the Redmi Note 8, and this has support for 1080p resolution at 30 FPS. So you can see how good the clarity of the video is, and also the audio output from the rear camera, that's the 48 megapixel Samsung's GM1 sensor on the Redmi Note 8. So this is the ultra wide angle camera sample taken with the Redmi Note 8. This has an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and it can record videos in 1080p resolution. Finally, the selfie experience. The 13 megapixel selfie camera is good and the skin tones are also good. Since selfies are more of personal choice, we would leave it to your viewers to decide on the quality. This is probably the same 13 megapixel camera which we found on the Redmi Note 7 Pro. The images have good details and they're sharp as well. The colors are also pretty good, and so is the dynamic range. The phone also comes with portrait selfies for the selfie camera, and here again it does a decent job with edge detection, but at times it does mess up with edges, but still it provides good portrait selfies. So this is the video recording sample taken with the 13 megapixel camera on the Redmi Note 8, which can record videos in 1080p resolution. So you can judge yourself how good the clarity of the video is and also the audio output from the front camera on the Redmi Note 8. So summing up, how does the camera on the Redmi Note 8 stack up with the competition and how good is it for the 10K price segment? The quad camera on the Redmi Note 8 does a pretty good job in the 10K price segment, and we already seen this 48 megapixel shooter on the Redmi Note 7s as well. With good daylight photography, decent ultra wide angle shots and low light images, good macros and selfies, we feel the Redmi Note 8 does a good job in the camera department in the price segment that's a sub 10K. The major area where Redmi Note 8 needs to improve is the video recording. Even with EIS support, the video quality was not great and this could be fixed with updates. Overall, if you look at the camera on the Redmi Note 8, this is probably one of the best smartphones below the 10K price segment with good cameras being offered. So what do you guys think about the camera? Do share in your thoughts in the comment section. This is Nirmal signing off. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.